Three, two, one. We're live.
Well, hello, beautiful people, and welcome to a new The Last Art stream with our special guest, Lucky, that we'll introduce pretty soon, with
Two,
Cody,
one.
and all the usual guests, as you know, Vex, Den, Joshua, and we have No Chill Phil, who's making one of those rare appearances because he's been missing in the last few streams. But first of all, I'm going to get all the usual suspects to introduce themselves. We'll start, Cody. What's up, man?
Hi, Coob. It's great to be on here. It's SSJ Cody.
Yes, and then Joshua.
Yo, it's me. I'm back.
Then we've got obviously Den. What's up, man? I think he's still muted up. We have Dill. What's up? Okay, Dill. Then obviously we have. What's up, man? Then we have our trusty cook, Vex.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Vex, is the lurking legend. Glad to be here. Can't wait to talk about the wonderful Wano arc in anime.
Yeah, and now
I missed my spot, but
go,
I'm still here. So I'm still here. Make sure you sub to Lucky. Yeah, it's TLA. Chat, do your thing. Everyone do your thing, and we'll get spicy and start cooking.
Cody in the chat.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Lucky, who interviewed TLA a few months ago while we were just new, gave us a chance. We had a great discussion that we'll most likely resume about Wano and other arcs. And also, just a reminder to everyone, Lucky he's anime only now, so he has stopped from 1095, so we'll mostly talk about Wano and prior arcs from the current one. So yeah, Lucky, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Luki. I am the host of the In Between the Lines of Anime podcast and YouTube channel, where before we were covering a bunch of the manga topics, but now that the manga is getting exceptionally good, I had to kind of revert back to my old ways of enjoying One Piece. So I'm going back to anime only. So I do really appreciate you guys kind of sticking your neck out and letting this stream be spoiler free. So yeah, I hope this is going to go very well, and I hope we get our theories and a good conversation going.
Yeah, dude, I'm hyped.
No doubt.
Absolutely hyped.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's like you said, the animation in One Piece is, especially in Wano, especially that latter half of Wano was pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah, once we got past that like third or second death of Luffy, the animation kind of just popped off. They started devoting a lot of their budget to these fights, and it came across pretty well. We saw it, I think it was like 10:33, where we see like the first the hawk punch or whatever, where that fire kind of took over the whole screen. It was very, very beautiful, and then it kind of stayed persistent as like super high quality animation all the way up until the more recent episodes where we see the Bajoran gun and all of these bigger Gear 5 things. Yeah, how do you guys feel about the animation thus far throughout the anime in like the latter half of Wano?
I'm a big fan of. Go ahead, Cube.
Bonjour. No, it was me.
Oh, my bad.
I was just going to say, it's interesting to look back because, like, it's not been that long, but the moment in the 1044 conversion to anime was a huge moment. One of the biggest moments I've ever seen in the One Piece community. So it's like it's hard to like differentiate the two now, because I remember reading it, but I also remember like watching it, and the anime. It's been great. It's been absolutely great, and it's kind of it's weird because like what am I supposed to say to someone? Oh yeah, the One Piece anime is great, but then they start from the beginning and it's like a completely different show. So I think the anime has been really good, and I'm
for sure. I completely understand that because my girlfriend happened to start One Piece like last year, and like she would watch some of the episodes that I was watching where we had great animation, But then she would start One Piece, and we're at fucking. Oh, sorry, not the F word. So sorry. We're at like 4:3 with like 480p. So like it's the worst quality with the worst aspect ratio, and on top of that, back then it was so much more corny, so much more goofy,
Yeah,
that to an
goofy.
adult it comes across as childish. But what I
Yeah,
really like about what the anime is getting across now is we're kind of reverting back to that goofy childishness, but with all of the weight of the adult story that we love, which is really,
which
really,
is
really
like
good.
One Piece at its finest, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
like,
where One Piece hits.
and you're right, saying like the transfer from the manga to the anime of the Gear 5 and how it came to be. So like 1044, like they added a whole bunch of things like transitions and little things that Luffy would do in between the panels that we couldn't have even imagined that that's what he would have done. And seeing it, it's like, oh, of course Luffy would do that.
Yeah, completely, completely. Like fleshed it out.
Yeah, and
So,
they
let's
really
do
did
this.
put more meat on the bone for us to chew on.
I just want to say this. Goda has been in Gear 5 since he started One Piece. This has been his peak the entire time. It hasn't gone down. It hasn't depreciated over time. No, this is his peak.
Yeah.
One Piece. One
And
peak.
actually, look, I'm gonna add on what you said, and that's something I was thinking a while back, ever since Dressrosa. But don't you feel like the goofiness, the comedy, all of that aspect in One Piece with hockey has it got improved? Don't you think as well? It seems like the environment itself adapted to it. If you think about it, because
Yeah.
if you think of Dressrosa, Whole Cake, and Whole Cake and Wano, the one thing about it is even the environment seems like more vibrant.
Yep.
Like compared to Drum Island, that was it's a great arc, but if you think about it, it looks like a regular island. Whiskey Peak, the same thing. When you think of the latter ones, it's like they're just unique.
Yeah, and they're
They
like
have their own life.
they're unique to the point where it seems like it's its own little world on our world. Like Whiskey Peak and like not Saboti, sorry, Whiskey Peak, Drum Island, all even like all the way back to like Alabasta, all of those kind of still felt like we were in the same world going from island to island. But you're right, once we got to like Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, then we go to like Zoe, Big Mom, all of these islands, they all start feeling like their own world, and we're just kind of like spaceships dropping on and then dealing with it and
Exactly.
then moving on to the next one.
Such a good analogy, the spaceship thing.
Yeah.
And so I have a question, and especially about Wano, and because we won't deny, and I think it's very hard to compare the Wano flashback with any other flashback, how detailed it was.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of that flashback? Because you could expect like there were like 3 parts: Wano, Odin, in the sea, and then his return. So those ones, like
No, if you were asking me, I don't know who you were asking precisely.
it's you and everyone else. You and everyone else. It's an open, broad question.
I'll say that I think my favorite part was actually seeing the clash between Roger and Whitebeard, and like that's also kind of being their reunion. Like that was super cool to see that. That's how two powerhouses. Yeah, you pulled it out. Like two powerhouses. That's how they just say hi to each other. Is like kind of testing each other's strength, and then being friends, having an all-out war for like a couple days. Everybody kind of making sure that you're still the Yonko, right? Like you're not a little baby anymore, right? And the friendliness still coming across. Like honestly, I don't think any other anime or manga or medium of entertainment could have gotten across like the violent hostility of pirates, right? And at the same time, the super friendliness that they have towards each other. So that's what I feel like the Roger Whitebeard clash was the best.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like it's almost separate to Wano. We had all this like crazy exposition about the history of like Odin's journal. The thing that like sort of troubles me, you could say at the moment, is like, is anything that we've heard in Oda's journal not true? Or is it exactly as it says? Will there be some twists and turns, or are we gonna like have the same panel of Luffy with tears in his eyes laughing when he gets there? So yeah, I think it's one of the most key parts of the whole One Piece story in terms of like flashbacks and stuff. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's also my favorite part. Obviously, I take with them going to Laugh Tale just afterwards because I think it's like the next chapter. So because I feel like this is what we needed for sure for that twist. It's like basically skipping Impel Down. If you're gonna go straight to Marineford, you would not understand like the importance of Luffy failing, like how deep it was. And I think like if you didn't have like two people who you were convinced, Whitebeard and Roger, who are Odin, so that's like that's like the stamp of approval of a conquerors. It's like if you have them in their flashback and they believe it's like, okay, that's important to the story. And then when he brings up all those different stuff, they were found in one place. It kind of makes sense what Luffy was saying, that he can achieve his dream with all of them. It's like, and it's just a different type of story. It's not about Goku and Vegeta racing to defeat Majin Buu. It's more about how long does it take before I gather the right type of people to make the changes, and when is the right time? Because we don't know. Like literally, we know what's yet to happen, but we don't know if it's going to be in 20 years for us because it's One Piece, or in 5 years.
I want to add on to that. I think why the flashback and why Wano specifically was super like low key, like really, really nice to have is because it really showed us that timing is very important in One Piece. And like Wano was kind of centered around the idea of like, oh, there was a previous like potential Joy Boy, but with Odin, and then like the time wasn't right. It's just that easy, guys. Like, there's nothing. There's nothing we can do about it. There's no the time is not right. Odin, like you could be Joy Boy. You are Joy Boy if you 20 years from now. Like it has to be in 20 years. And then we can take that same idea of like the timing and having to do things in accordance to how they are said should be done. Luffy, when we go back to when Rayleigh and all of them were sitting in that bar, and Rayleigh's like, I can tell you where the One Piece is. I can tell you how to get to Laugh Tale. And Luffy's like, no. Like, we are not cheating. We have to do this like the right way. It's very in that point we see that like Luffy is the person who is going to do things the right way. They're not going to try to cheat their way to Laugh Tale or their goal. Their goal is at the end of the road. They're not trying to speed run it.
Yeah, I agree. And then like supplement to that afterwards is Kaido, this like bad version of Joy Boy almost like.
Yeah, the guy standing at the gates blocking Joy Boy, basically. Which kind like once again that kind of has to go with Odin, right? Like Wano had to happen because there had to be a way for Joy Boy to kind of like declare himself that he is here, and with Kaido taking out the other potential Joy Boy. Well, that just puts up a barrier for 20 years for the next real Joy Boy to come down and take it down. Yeah. So that you're right.
Yeah. It's a fascinating part of the story, definitely, and like
and
also
the flashback is so good,
flooding.
so beautiful. Like the flashback was like a lot of the times in shows we don't really like seeing flashbacks because it's kind of like boring lore, but like the Wano flashback was like the highlight of Wano, right next to Gear 5. Like all of us manga readers, that's what we knew. Okay, we're waiting for the Wano flashback and then Gear 5. So to have a flashback as like one of the highlights of your entire arc that lasted like 7 real life years, good job, really good job.
Yeah, for real. And like there's spice all over it as well, like right at the end, it's like this is what's in Wano, this is what's underneath Wano, and there's a lot to like sink your teeth in there, and like the possibilities that
and like even to have the similarities, like sorry, not the similarities, like the symbolism of Skypiea. Like I know a lot of people say that, but I'm just gonna very briefly say like, yeah, like there's a similarities to Skypiea, and then with Odin's song, like Odin and it has to be hot or whatever, like that drum pattern is the same drum pattern that was used in Skypiea to announce war, which is the same drum pattern to bring in the Warrior of Liberation, like that, all of that, like so subtly being put in throughout our whole story. That's the spice that we all love. That's the seasoning that we're here for.
I often think like when we saw the drumming happening at the Fire Festival, the end of the Wano arc, like
Skypiea Festival,
like no, well, they had the Fire Festival in Wano, right? And I was like, oh, this looks kind of like the Skypiea thing. But it's only like now that I truly understand that, like, these are probably the drums of liberation happening at the end of the liberation of Wano. So, just completely like I have a lot more fondness when I look back at it now and what it all means.
Yeah, and on top of that, to have the Drums of Liberation happen at Wano, well, the people of Wano are the ones who wrote the Poneglyphs, who wrote the name Joy Boy. So like these Drums of Liberation could be exactly what we went through with Wano, where some dude showed up, liberated Wano, and was like, "My name is Joy Boy." And then it's the people of Wano that have like created this giant story to have a vision of who Joy Boy is, which like consequently by power of will in One Piece makes him a real person in Luffy.
Yeah, like realizing the myth.
Yeah,
It's
because
interesting.
will and all this stuff. I don't know how far we're going into the manga because this is a little bit more into Egghead, where we learn a little more about
This
stuff.
I'm
So,
worried as well.
yeah, I don't want to say it, but Will is like a possible real force in the world of One Piece. So if a bunch of people believe in a certain thing, then that thing can become real. Which is another reason. Another side theory. I spoke with Larry from that One Piece talk, and he told me that when Roger declared that the One Piece is at the end of the world, go find it, you can have it, it actually didn't exist. What he was doing was forcing people to will it into existence. I thought that was a very, very cool theory.
Also, think about this, because I'm happy you brought this up, because this is one of my favorite things, because I would agree to some extent with Larry, and the thing is, I would add on to this is, think of it, how Buggy was introduced in the beginning of the story. And recently, since you're up to date to that, in the manga, I could talk about it. What Buggy talked about, what it is to be Pirate King.
Yeah.
Which fitted. And you think about it, we know that the beginning, the way Buggy did not want the One Piece, is that he even said, I have nothing that I want. Meaning that it was more like, it's not initial stuff. But Roger used all of that. Like he wanted every possible person, a possible Joy Boy from anywhere, to go seek for it. Like you gotta think, like he marketed it so that it would be attractable for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why. Anybody who wants freedom, which see, I'm talking a lot. I'm so sorry, guys, but like for me, there's two types of people. Well, technically three types of people in the One Piece world. There are the oppressors, the like freedom fighters, or people who fight for their own freedom, and then there's captives or slaves, where you only belong to those three groups. It's either you're a slave, you're either an oppressor, or you're either a pirate, somebody who isn't oppressed. That's all it means. You're either an oppressor or you're not. So when you have your own flag, that means you are your own king, right? So you're your own form of freedom. Does that make sense? Or am I a little bit off?
Yeah.
No.
You've
right?
got
Like,
Cody and
so
Josh,
technically,
like,
this is
nodding
kind of where I'm
their heads
going,
to what
is
you're
that the world government is a pirate crew, because it's either you're a pirate or you're a slave, pretty much. So like that's why they have a flag, and the flag, I know it doesn't look like a skull and crossbones, but for if you kind of take its more simple, basic elements, it is a circle with a cross and like bones. So, and it's on a flag.
Yeah.
You know, it symbolizes their unity, blah blah blah. So I personally think that the world government and like Emu and his gang are actually like a group of pirates.
Agree. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And the reason why you have to become Pirate King is because like pirate is above King of the World. Like pirate, it just means that nobody is on top of you. Like Pirate King, that's all that means. It doesn't mean you're above everybody. It just means nobody's above you.
I think like I completely agree that with the pirate idea, and like the fact they have a flag is like a Jolly Roger, right? It's pretty fitting. Pillaging and taking offerings is all very pirate-esque.
Yeah. Not every pirate flag has to be a skull and crossbow. Even our history is not the case.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah,
true. That's our history. I want to say that in like One Piece, it was pretty much declared that you have to have like a Jolly Roger, like to be a pirate. But like honestly, that's not that serious to me.
The new Fishman pirates don't have a pirate, Jolly Roger.
Yeah, like are there?
Wow, okay.
But it's everyone who flies a Jolly Roger is labeling themselves as pirate.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't forget what they said in Amazon Lily. Remember what they said in Amazon Lily? Everyone was named a pirate because they were not affiliated to the world government. And then And the only way they would be able to get that immunity from a Shishibukai from Hancock is they would all accept to be labeled as pirates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
They said that.
Or join the forces and become
I was gonna
warlords,
say-
for example, to relinquish
Yeah,
That
the
and look at
Yeah.
Brooks' crew. Brooks' crew was labeled pirates, but they were just a traveling band of musicians.
Yeah.
If they flew a Jolly Roger, it would make sense.
And in French, there are two words for pirate. Well, I think you guys don't use it in English, but the word corsaire, which is in French, that's how we call it. They call the Shishibukai, they call them corsaire, and then you have pirates. The difference is one of them is legal, one of them is illegal. Corsaires are just
They're
legal. They
contracted.
work.
Yes.
They're contracted.
Yeah, like Mihawk would be a corsaire. Yeah.
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 Cool.
So this is kind of manga talk, but it's manga talk from 20 plus years ago, guys. Let's revisit Romance Dawn, where we had in the alternate reality one that Oda made that didn't actually take place. We have Luffy talking with Nami about how there's two types of pirates in the world. There are peacemains and Morganeers. Now, wouldn't that just be the people trying to win back their freedom from the people trying to oppress those who want their freedom?
Exactly.
Yeah, some of them are not.
Exactly.
Right,
And
yeah.
what's really good about One Piece is they get across this idea of like duality, like yin and yang, right? Like Blackbeard and Luffy, oppressor, oppressed, slave, savior. Those kind of ideas are so present in One Piece, and they're pretty easy to catch on, but only after 20 years later in the manga when we have a little bit more detail, which is like kind of the good part about One Piece and kind of the bad part where like we want our answers, but like the answers take a long time to get to.
We were talking about this today. Yeah, it's like a whole. As soon as you get the ending, even like on the way to the ending, the subsequent information, like it changes everything. Like, I can't. Well, I won't touch on two.
Yeah, no,
things
don't.
too late in
I
this
know
story,
where you were going, but yeah.
But 1044, for example, is a good example of that because everyone's like the sun god, what the chuff, and then when you go back, you can see all these. I mean, in Fishman Island, there is literally a Nika.
Yeah, and like tiny little details spread out throughout the whole story of like hinting, oh, Nika, which is crazy.
Sun god.
Yeah, like something simple like a T-shirt that Luffy is wearing, like it just had like a sun or like I think it was Frankie next to him with like
Exactly.
the word Nika. Like something so dumb
that
like
had
that, and you're like, I can't believe that's how you were telling us. Yeah, it's a little, honestly, it's a little frustrating because it kind of seems like Oda like plays with us, like he knows what we want to know, and he's like, you guys don't even need to know about that yet. You guys don't need to. Don't worry. Don't worry. Like God Valley.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I think we're going into God Valley. That's why I've actually stopped reading. So, like.
Yeah, like that's
So what the fuck
something
is up with the giant sword on Onigashima?
Yeah, and then the giant.
Because
hat
that
in
shit
the
is fucking
freezer.
massive.
No one knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up with all these giant relics that are being held?
What is the name? Oars. Oars is technically a giant relic that was held and then brought back to life with the use of Nika's shadow. Little weird. Little weird that was all the way back in Thriller Bark.
Liberated him from his ice prison.
Yeah. Oh, the continent puller got to use Nika's shadow. I don't think that that's a coinky dink. I think maybe that he was hinting at something.
I think like an interesting parallel to this is the Kanjuro situation. Like loyalty and allegiances changed throughout the Wano arc, and I definitely did not foresee. I know some people did foresee him becoming a traitor, but I definitely didn't foresee that. And like when you look back, there are these little sort of hints and stuff like we're talking about with other things, and you're like, whoa, this really does connect, but only properly or only completely on the reread.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty much that's a really good thing where like One Piece is kind of set up as a map, right? Like where the story is the map to find the treasure, and what's really good is like now we're near the ending of the map and we're able to look backwards and see way more than what we could have before.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like my favorite go-to for early conquerors. I know you're gonna say something cute, but I'm gonna say this real quick. Is that Zoro and Luffy both exhibited conquerors hockey all the way back in Whiskey Peak.
Whoa. When? How? Who?
During their fight with each other, and Mr. Five and Miss Valentine decided to interrupt, and both Luffy and Zoro stared straight face at them, and they got so scared they stopped in their tracks.
Yep.
It was not levels of Conqueror's Haki to make them pass out. Innate underlying use of it that caused them to lose their will to advance.
Yeah,
that's a
wait,
good
I
way
have a
to put it,
question then.
actually.
I have a question about a circumstance like that. Like that, though, these are circumstances I'm going to talk about. Like, do you think that Oda had fully had the idea fleshed out that he wanted Zoro and Luffy to have Conqueror's Haki, so he was just kind of dabbling in it, or that was there and he used that as a tool and then he built Conqueror's Haki off of that? What came first, either Conqueror's Haki or just the panel and then Conqueror's Haki?
Well, so I definitely think it was Conqueror's Haki first, because his original envision of what hockey was what Shanks did to the fucking Lord of the Coast.
Yeah, that's what.
Which,
yeah.
to be fair, what we know now, that is Conqueror's Haki.
Yeah.
And we got, whenever the anime did the episodes a while back, the Uta episodes, we got Ben Beckman using what could be Conqueror's Haki to save Luffy.
Oh, in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
No. Those were the
Filler.
anime episodes. They were the specials that came out.
Oh, yes,
that
yes. That's
released
right, that's right.
alongside. Yeah.
Yes, the movie. Yeah, I know.
But,
what you're saying, yeah. It was like
I
it was
think,
literally
like-
10:30 to
like-
10:33. It was like super small episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think there might have been plans. There might have been structures and plans there, but not as polished as we've got. Like look at Rio and Wano and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
really taken on its own thing now and its own system and structure.
Also,
For me,
the
I'll
mantra,
say
in Skypiea, the mantra that became the observation haki. That
Yeah.
that doesn't originally be something else.
Yeah.
So my whole thing about this is I think if there was one type of hockey that was added on to maintain a balance because he saw there was an issue was armament. Because if you think about it, even if like people like to talk about Alabasta with Zoro, the breath of all things, or Luffy in Little Garden, sensing instinct, but no one talks about Zoro in Sir Village when Usopp wants to help him and he is back of Usopp so he can't see him shooting at it. And then Zoro just puts his back right into the direction of the ammo, and he says, "I don't need help," and he couldn't see it. Like if you look, there's some hints of Conquerors and an observation,
Yep.
but armament takes forever to start making a play. So I think armament was most likely the issue he saw with Logias.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Like that's kind of what I was getting at. Is like it feels almost like hockey was kind of like a blank slate to kind of fix the little issues that would occur later on, right? Like with the Logias, right? Like they can't be touched. Well, I have this weird power system that later when Luffy needs to touch somebody with a Logia, I'll make something, right? And I think that's my problem with hockey is hockey kind of just feels like it's ever changing. Like the goalpost keeps moving. First we had 2-3 types of hockey, and then now we have advanced, and then Rio, and then is Rio this weird form of advanced? I don't fully get it, but okay, it's their magic, strong power. Like that's all that I think it's supposed to be, and I'm a little annoyed by that. I want a little bit more in depth about what hockey is and how does it work, but more so how does it. Like, what is the actual, cost? Like, is it like a mana? Like, you have a mana bar or something? Is it like energy that you've eaten? Like, I don't know how it works. And
You know what's gonna make me sound
others.
the way you talk about this, and even though I think we must have talked in the past, but the way you talk about this, hockey, depending on which culture, which island, seems to be different. It kind of makes me think of martial art. Martial art. Yeah. It's the same type of movement, but depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
And it follows the same countries and themes as One Piece.
Yeah, wow. Like,
I mean,
that would have been interesting if
think
like
about
all of the
fishmen.
fishmen, for example, were like super classed in armament hockey. And like that's the origination of armament hockey, where hockey is kind of like chakra, where it's like the basic idea, and then like each person can do with what they want.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can even say that Fishman Karate and Electro from the Mings could be some sort of hockey or body manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
even normal humans can learn it.
But like, here's another question, just in regards to like hockey, devil fruit kind of ideas. Like, I think his name was Mr. Four, the guy who like flicked his boogers, right? Is that Four?
Mr. Five. Mr. Five.
Oh shit.
Mr. Five.
Sorry.
Mr.
So
Boogers.
Mr. Five, he has a devil fruit that like he throws his fucking boogers. Well, let's say that he got to the point, or let's say we gave that fruit to like Ben Beckman, somebody who is like end game boss level, who can potentially apply armament hockey to bullets. I'm already going off of that assumption. I don't know why. I just feel like that's not a far stretch. Would they be able to then apply armament hockey to their devil fruit powers? Right? Because like they counteract. So I don't know if they would work together even. Because Luffy does.
like,
Luffy applies armament hockey to his gum fruit, and it increases the strength. But like I thought it's supposed to negate. So like I'm a little perplexed around that idea.
That's an interesting thought. It's like Hawkins and observation hockey. Like, you know,
Yes.
can they be used congruently? Like,
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to in which way you try applying it, rather than just hey, this armament hockey would go against the devil fruit. It'd be like your armament hockey that you're using to penetrate the other person's skin would be the reason, rather than my armament hockey doesn't work with my devil fruit because I'm using armament hockey.
I understand. It's kind of like whatever will
Like
or whatever
intention.
idea you have, that's what is applied.
Intention versus purpose.
Yeah, intention. That's the best idea. Yeah. Intention. I understand. Okay, yeah. I could go with that. I could understand.
If you think about it, remember the first time we saw a crazy Concourse hockey feat from Shanks when he won a white beer ship? Remember what Marcus said? He said, anyone, don't think of fighting him. Anyone who has the intent of fighting him will just collapse. He did say that. Like, it wasn't about he'll just drop you. He said, if you think of going after him, you will just collapse. Forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wonder what's going on with Shanks. Like, that's a good idea, because like even we're about to hit this episode right now where Green Bull pulls up to Wano and like literally
Nice.
shits his pants because he touched
this is tonight,
his
correct?
hockey. Yeah, I think it's like literally tonight. Like it's gonna be a good episode.
Well, it depends if they're gonna pick two part the whole Green Bull and Momo and the fight with Green Bull. It depends, because recently they've been stretching stuff in two parts. It depends.
Yes.
Obviously.
Which last episode it wasn't that
So-
bad. I actually really enjoyed like your 4 new emperors, and like they declared the 4 new emperors. Pretty good.
That's what I was gonna ask you about. Is what did you think about the Yonko reveal, and what did you think about Luffy and Zoro waking up?
Okay, I honestly Luffy and Zoro waking up, for some reason I felt like they already had woken up, and like we were gonna see like Luffy and the 4 boys on that tree stump, like on that tree branch with the admiral, and kind of be like,
Yes.
oh yeah, he's a Yonko now. He's not even scared. Like he doesn't even deal with like vice admirals. But then to see like how they did it versus the manga, like in the manga it was very simple, like your 4 new emperors are, and then we got a big nice panel. But that was very cool. But in the anime it was like a whole telling of like the events and then what it led to and how these people got affected, and now your 4 emperors are, which like I showed it to my girlfriend. I was like, hey, I know you're only at like Sabaody, but this is the episode we're at now. Like just know you're not watching for no reason. Like we're getting better. And she was like, what? This episode is like really, really good. Like she was first super impressed by the animation. Like it's something I almost take for granted. I really try to like appreciate it, but like looking at Sabaody to now, or like Whiskey Peak to now, like the animation is so much better. So for her to realize that right away, I like that. But yeah, like that pose with all of our 4 emperors in the black and white, like just standing, that was super, super, super cool to see. It's so awesome for me because I really and truly feel like we are on this journey following this guy climb the ranks of the world. And like he's here now, like he's our top 5 candidates for Pirate King, guys.
Yeah,
Finally.
yeah.
Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we all
And
knew it in our hearts,
I do
but
like.
now it's set
I do
in stone.
appreciate that the anime fleshes it out as well. Like there is no filler like One Piece filler, you know. So yeah, I'm down, very down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
We've
for
got
me,
I think we've got a special guest about to join us, who is Cody's Pusscat. Cody, what's the cat's name?
That one's name is
Roshi.
Justin. He's one of 4. Very sorry to
Justin
interrupt.
the cat. No. Nice.
Is he
nice.
that's nice, interesting. And I'm just
Check it
gonna
out.
bring you a question. I want you, and this is for everyone, and this is obviously I wanted to make a whole game about this, but I think it'll be easier. I want you to rate in terms of all the traders we've seen in One Piece, you know. How would you rate Kanjuro's reveal in Wano?
Yo, Kanjuro off the hop. I'm saying this right now. Maybe it's because like I'm this kind of guy where like, dude, I did not like you. Like you could have been a traitor, but you should have been a traitor from the get-go.
Mhm.
Like you should have like don't play this character. That's what I didn't like. Is like the lying and the scheming. So like when he came out as a traitor, I was like, take him out, guys. Like just whoop his ass. Just beat him up. Just kill him. Just get him out of
completely.
here. Like don't let him and his story get concluded. Cut it off, bro. Don't let him get what he wants.
Yeah. I was a bit worried as well about like whether or not he was going to get away with some things. The one thing I did like though, I think everyone can agree on like this sort of thing is the drawing. Like that was pretty funny. Like
Yes.
like when you look back now, all these bad drawings, and you're just like,
Yes.
obviously,
Yeah,
the guy's an
obviously.
artist.
Yeah.
Like,
But then also it's like he goes from having like bad drawings to like being able to like draw perfectly like Odin and like make himself look like it to the point where he's fooling Momonosuke and the others. It's like, okay, bro, like you are a piece of trash and I want to throw you
Mhm.
in the garbage. Like,
Mhm,
damn, bro. See, it actually makes me like a little upset that like he got away with it for a little too long. Like that's what it was.
I think that the main reason
it was-
why he got away with it was because he gave us Ryunosuke, you know, and for that we are blessed, you know.
Mhm.
it was a confusing like time though. Like even if you're watching it week to week as opposed to reading it, like there's so much going on, you just don't know. Like, is he actually a traitor? Even though they told me he's a traitor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the time, week to week particularly, it was just crazy and
You're
hard
right.
to.
You are right, because I do remember
up.
having this like feeling of like, oh, maybe like he's like a fake traitor. Like maybe he's saying he's a
Yeah.
traitor because he has to in order to get like a good guy goal. But like I
Yeah.
don't know, it was kind of the lying when he dressed up as Odin. That's when I went, oh, you're just a piece of garbage. Like you're a bad person.
Mm,
That's when it kind of
Mhm,
set it in stone.
mhm.
Like you cannot be a hero at this point.
I mean, it's like just the whole way it ends, right? With him, this little Umibozu, Kabozu, whatever it's called, like thing coming out and finding Orochi. It's just like, what is
Yeah.
happening? Like,
Yeah.
and Hiyori's just like on the guitar. It's
and
like, okay,
go
like,
on that. It kind of did feel like the what are they, like the Red Samurai or the Akazaya 9, something, the 9 of them,
mhm.
and then
Red Scabbers,
Orochi and not Hiyori. Was that her name, Hiyori?
Yes.
Yeah.
The girl playing the, yeah, okay. So it kind of really did feel like those people were in their own little story within our story, right? Like it was
Yeah.
up to the Akazaya 9 to take out Kaido, which they failed. And then they had their traitor who took out Orochi, and then Hiyori was a part of that group. Like it really felt like it was them and then us, and then like Luffy was in the middle, like kind of tying both stories together and ending it. Right? Like Luffy was simultaneously Odin and like Joy Boy and Luffy, like all at once, concluding all of those stories.
Yeah,
It was the
and, like,
Ninja
Hiyori
Pirate
and-
Meat Samurai Alliance that saved Wano.
Yeah. Which nobody's gonna know about because they're just gonna say that it was Joy Boy. Which that honestly, I love
it is.
He did
It's
get a
really
lot more
tough.
talking, but you know who also got talked about?
Who else?
Ryuma.
Oh my
True.
goodness, you're right. And yo, honestly though, they did Zoro very dirty throughout Wano. They did Zoro very
Yeah.
dirty.
What?
Wano should have been the area or like
No.
the scene or whatever you want to call it where we take a deeper dive into maybe not Zoro's backstory. I understand maybe wanting to save that, but at least
we
the
did.
culture and history of swordsmanship and like how it came to be to where we're at the pinnacle of swordsmanship with Mihawk and Zoro. Like you have
But
all
we
these
actually-
great, sorry, go.
We actually did that in Zoro's fight with King. He got a flashback. When he was a child.
Of King's flashback though, right? Or Zoro's flashback?
No, Zoro's flashback with the old man.
Yeah, no, I'm talking more so about the history of like swordsmanship and like why Wano
Like
is
the
known for their
attachments to
sword.
like going to
Yes,
like
and
the Shimizuki going to the East Blue and stuff, and like the classic scene
Ryuma,
that
why is
everyone
he at
can
this
sort of-
jail? Why is he at a grave site somewhere else? Or something as simple as
Yeah.
like what is that blue stuff that they put underneath marine boats? I forget what it's called. Sea stone.
A sea stone.
Right, like
Yeah.
the sea stone. Like these guys were the ones who worked on sea stone and like figured out that technology. Like, why didn't we expand on that at all?
I
This is
mean, I
why.
remember the chapter with Zorro in the graveyard, and everyone going ham, and then the week after, no one even remembering it because it
Yeah.
just like he was sat in the graveyard with the Wado and stuff like that, and all this, and he said this and that about Ryuma when he was in Thriller Bark, and then when we're there, nothing happens. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this is weird. It feels out of place.
And
Yeah,
then right
and-
after Wano, you introduce another character with green hair. Everyone's gonna go, oh, Zoro. Right?
That's what
yeah.
what people are saying. It's his dad. Like,
Yeah.
And then, you know, but this is why for me, I will say this is my copium for that of Wano, because that we do think that it was skipped over a lot of stuff by the end. That 1 week, after that 1 week, Zoro seemed very chummy with Yamato. Who Yamato literally is scarred by by the Daimo's image. So I don't think that she would just forget about the similarities. So that's why for me is I feel like that is only saving grace. It's the only time he has done that, where they have a big fight, there's a big revelation, and then you have a jump of a week after. When usually the next day they have an epiphany.
Yeah.
We don't even see the epiphany.
well, see that is completely how I feel. Like, I remember reading the bit with the Grim Reaper as well, and being like, "Oh my god!" And then like the week after, being like, "Oh, is that it? Like, we're not getting any more."
Yeah.
But
and
I will
honestly,
say
in the
one thing
manga,
about Zoro.
oh, sorry, go. Sorry,
Last thing I
go
was going to say is when he blocks the double Yonko attack, that is sick. Like that, it was a
Oh,
surprise to a lot of
man.
people, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that blew my mind.
What was
The
it? Like
fact-
Calamity Sovereignty or something like that? Some crazy stuff.
Some craziness,
Yeah. Which, hold on, I want to say it because I think the move is called Sovereignty or something like that, right? Like Sovereignty.
Yeah, it's something
Sovereignty.
sovereign.
Which
yeah, sorry.
Sovereignty.
isn't that very similar to what Roger used?
He
One of
used
Roger's
Divine
moves?
Departure,
Divine
but
Departure.
the Giants use Ikaku Sovereignty,
Which is
which
divine.
Used by Tori Brody on
Kaku and Big Mom and Kaido used Hakaku.
Oh, okay. Because I always felt like those two moves were very, very similar, like in the way that they're like pronounced. So I even thought
Yeah,
that
it's
it may
Elbaf ties, right?
Yeah, with
Like,
have... Oh
seeing,
yeah,
yeah,
see,
stuff
okay,
like that.
okay.
before getting too far into Ege, but yeah, we see like a little bit of a connection between, you know, Shanks and Elbaf. I think that the Divine Departure, like we might get something on Roger being tied to Elbaf.
Yeah,
as
because
well,
that's
like, where
Roger's move. In
yeah.
Odin's flashback, that is the move that Roger uses. He uses Divine
Exactly.
Departure, and then we see something later where another character uses it. And then I also thought that it was Big Mom and Kaido who used some type of Divine Departure. It may have been like something else with the idea of Divine Departure.
Well,
I thought that was
Kaido-
like comboing two
Yeah.
different types of hockey.
And then
together.
later on with Kaido on the rooftop using what the Ragnaroku, like, which is another like big reference. Oh, Cody's got the whole panels.
Yeah, wow. It looks so good. It looks so good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's some massive moments. It's One Piece in,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's complicated, yeah, it's twisty, but it's definitely a bit of an epic arc.
I want to say the fact that Zoro was even there to fight Kaido and Big Mom is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It does really feel like that's what's been happening throughout the later parts of One Piece, like especially Zoe forward, Zoe Big Mom, Zoe Whole Cake, and then Wano, where it kind of just feels like everybody is somehow magically right at the perfect spot where they have to be. Very weird. Like without
Yeah,
Zoro
place
there,
of
that
prophecy.
move would have absolutely destroyed them. But Zoro was
Yeah.
there.
It's true, but
Right?
Zoro was faltering a little bit, and he did need Law to pull him out of there. He didn't block it on his own.
I think he didn't
Mm.
block it on his own
He
the
did
same
block-
way, for the same reason that he didn't block Mihawk's attack, where he like opened up his chest, where he's like, "Yo, I'm not blocking, bro. It's either it's hitting me or I'm hitting you, bro. One of the two."
You just got to take the hit.
Yeah, kind of just like he's always had that like warrior spirit of like I'm not taking damage on my back, like I'm gonna walk headfirst into battle, which that's Zoro's character, right?
Yeah, but I had to throw
And
it out
in the
to
anime,
my guy
during that
Law.
moment,
My guy Law is top
Yeah.
2 for me, and he was clutching that moment too. Everyone says it's a Zoro moment. I'm like, it's both.
Agenda
The real
piece.
hero.
no,
Hold on there. Law
think,
didn't
like,
move him before the attack was dissipated. Zoro stood there for the whole attack to deflect it, and then Law got him out of there.
Yeah. Wait, was Yamato on the rooftop during that moment? No, right?
No, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
No.
okay. Yeah.
but we in that
No, it
moment,
was
could
just
see-
the worst generation.
we saw a load of still frames. That was sort of the beginning time of me noticing it, thanks to people pointing it out to me. But when he defended the attack, we saw some of the like there was a woman who was crying, and there was another one, I think Zoro
Yes.
with horns, and like that's where it started to get like trippy with the anime. I was like watching it each week with these lot, like, oh, what stills we gonna find about Zoro?
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw these. Like, you're
Yeah.
probably talking about the same thing, where it's like within the stills, you're seeing like the animators write out like a little message, and you're like, oh my god, that's really cool. I remember the one with like Big Mom, where it was like Kid and Law who take out Big Mom, and like in the fire, you see the words like smoking on that Big Mom pack, and I'm like, that's like what shit I'm loving now. I love when animators and like people are having fun in like the one frame. Like there's only one frame. Nobody would have ever seen that. Us One Piece crazy fans, we're pausing every frame.
Also, when Gear 5 got revealed and all the still images of every other gear,
Yup.
I sat down and Alan and screenshot
Bro,
every last
me and
one.
Josh were going crazy when that dropped.
Well, it's
They're
so
still
funny.
in chat.
It's so funny because like even when just the teaser for Gear 5 came out, like all of the anime music videos, like the AMVs that you saw of just like 4 little sections of the Gear 5 teaser. Like we don't even know anything about Gear 5, and there's so many anime music videos, TikTok edits, and you're like, dude,
Yeah.
Gear 5 is going to
Josh,
break
like-
the internet, guys.
Like absolutely disseminated the episodes when they were coming out, like posting
Yup.
like 50 screens of like each bit of hacky
Yup.
spelling each different letter
Yeah.
and stuff, and I was like, oh thank god someone's doing it.
And like, I just want to make it clear to anybody, if you're watching this and you're not actually watching One Piece, look, we're all of us here are 1,000+ episodes deep, and it's beautiful. So like, give it a shot, an honest shot, and just know that it's worth the wait. It is not the wait, it is
Mhm.
worth the journey. Like, we still reminisce
It all
on Alabasta,
gets
on
better and better.
Sabaody, on even the first few chapters where we're talking about Shanks using Conqueror's Hockey. That stuff you see in chapter 1 still applies in chapter 1000. We're still trying to decrypt what message that was. So it's a good show.
Yeah. And also, if you're on the stream 50 minutes in and you're not into One Piece, I'm very curious on the what you like about it marketing wise. You know, very interested. Just kidding. Just kidding. But
Yeah, impact frames, as Cody said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the impact frames. Yeah, that's what they're called. Yeah, I kind of forget the names here and there.
I just don't want to like interrupt anyone. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Whoa, cut me off, bro. I'm talking way too much.
No. You are the guest here, and you're here to spit, and I'm here to listen and enjoy everything that you're so eloquently speaking into my wonderful ears with your wonderful buttery voice. So please
Thank
keep
You are
cooking,
spitting,
keep
you are
roasting, and I love it.
So wait, I have a question, because when I first started my podcast, one of the first like hot topics we talked about on the show was Yamato. And the reason why, to me, it wasn't that bad of a topic, but to my co-host, it was, where it was actually pretty controversial about the whole idea of like man, woman in the same body, that kind of he, she. Where do you guys stand?
It was
Because
unexpected.
it was a little unexpected, but once I fully conceptualized the idea that Yamato is just embodying Odin. They aren't Odin, but they are trying to represent Odin, and in doing so, you must fully embody them, whether that be you're a swordsman or a man, like you got to become both. So that's where I kind of forgave my
I can, yeah,
problems with that.
I can
but-
jump in there because
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought like what is going on? Like I don't care about the gender orientation, but I'm like, why? Like, what is going on? But now I look back, I completely agree with you. I think it's really simple. It's just a convention. Like, it's like where Kaido, you know, it fits the Kaido child well because Kaido wouldn't have a daughter, would not take care of a daughter. There's no way. Stuff like that, and like this being Odin and being Joy Boy, and like gender does play a role in One Piece, and yeah, so I think it is like literally just a clever convention.
Yeah,
also-
gender does play a role in One Piece in a big way. Like Ivankov in Impel Down in level 3.5 in the new Kama land, showing how like you don't need to conform to a gender almost even in this series. Like really being a gender isn't as big as being free in this world. And I feel like with Yamato wanting to embody how free of a spirit Odin was is what made me like go to their character so much. Like a gender that doesn't matter. Their gender is Odin. They just
That's the best way to say it. Just like a male can be a female, and it's very similar to real life. Like you have masculine energy and female energy, like two different forms of interaction amongst people and amongst elements of states and matter. And if you dress like a woman or look like a woman or whatever, that really does not matter. That is just an overlay of identity that you're putting on. It's the part of the role you play, and Yamato is a fierce, like masculine character, not in the sense that she's manly, but in the sense that she's always changing her surroundings. She's not a princess. She's not Hiyori.
Mm-hmm.
She's not like a retainer or anything like that. She is just like chaos, like Luffy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the best. First of all, if Oda's river card, putting female for Kiku and female for Yamato is the answer. But the best thing is when I was 14 years old, I cosplay as Batman, Bruce Wayne. That doesn't make me the Dark Knight. You know what I mean? It's like until the person talks, if it's like Okiku, the person talks about what it is to be a woman. That is different. But when you just talk about the identity of a person, it's like someone saying always, let's say Superman exists, someone keeps saying I am Superman. Does not mean that he's an alien who can fly and is almost invincible in this world. You know, it's like it's just like Dead and said, it's the embodiment of that character. It's like if you wanted to be Zeus, it doesn't make you a Greek god.
Yeah,
and I think
it's like
really
Sanji.
good-
It's like I never understood the Sanji stuff, but then one day it just clicked. I was like, oh, he's passion. The character is passion.
Yeah.
It's not about women. It's about not being able to contain your emotion, and that just happens to be his medium.
Yeah, and I really think that Yamato is kind of the last pillar in the story of like gender that he's trying to get across. Like to me, it started as early as like Mr. 3 with like just that flamboyant energy that at the time in like the 90s, 2000s, people. Oh,
Mr. 2. Mr. 2.
I don't remember the number.
Do that. Bon Clay. I'm gonna have to like simp right now. That's my man. Nuh-uh. It's not. We put some respect on my boy's name. New comma Kempo for life. Oh, comma my way. You know what? Luffy wouldn't have made it out of that jail if it wasn't for the sacrifice, and we wouldn't have made it even out of Alabasta if it wasn't for the first sacrifice. Oh, comma my way.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And that's what I'm trying to say is that idea of like in the early 2000s, us watching a character like Bon Clay who had this super flamboyant energy. It wasn't feminine yet. It was just clearly not the masculine. Yeah. And then still doing like the hero jobs that we require from our side characters, right? Then that moves all the way over to like Ivankov, where like every single person is a little like, are you a guy? Are you a girl? Like we don't really know, but I guess it's not that important, right? And then we move forward to Yamato,
where it's like contrast, by the way.
Yeah, where it's like Yamato gets to the point where it actually doesn't even matter if they're a guy or a girl, right? So we went from you're a man with female energy to we don't know what you are, but you have some weird type of maybe masculine, maybe feminine energy, to, oh, wait, it actually doesn't even matter. You claim to be a man, you want to be a man. That's all that's important right now. Right? Like, and I
Yeah.
really
I-
like that
I
that
completely agree with
storytelling
that.
took a few years to get across, because it's a problem that we couldn't solve this problem back in 2005. We couldn't have Yamato as a character without it being a super controversial thing, or getting the show canceled. But slowly starting with the
Yes.
goofiness, upgrading the goofiness, and then getting to a serious point where you're like, no, the person wants to be a man, declares himself a man, therefore they are one, and you should respect that and help them
And it
achieve their goal
negates-
regardless. Poof, that's what One
Yeah,
Piece is about.
it like instantly as a tool, like I've never really thought about it, but you're right, like it's built up over time, and as a tool, like it literally, you can have princesses and queens and have them as feminine as you want, and it doesn't matter now, because like you have this built up tool which is Yamato, or all the way up to Yamato, where like I think you say like Bon Clay and Ivankov are brilliant examples. Like you look at Bon Clay and you see the femininity and no, sorry, you see like the ladiness in him.
Yeah,
like, in
I just say
terms of-
flamboyant. I don't want to
Yeah,
make it
yeah.
like too gendered, but just
No,
you're
but-
not a
but
masculine
my-
Zoro kind of character for sure.
That was my specific point. Is there is like this, like a woman's side, like they added the makeup stuff like that, and obviously men can wear makeup and stuff. But then you look at Eva, and Eva is like, what the heck? Like, what was that? Like, what's going on here? It's an Okama, but in a different sense. It's like more like Ivankov is Ivankov.
Yeah.
Whereas at first it's like Bon Clay is a man that's not a man and stuff like that. And as you go on, you just get to this point where it's Yamato, and it's like the key goes in the lock, turns, no one asks any questions. It just works now, you know.
Yeah, and
So,
in the episode last week, like you have Yamato jumping into the boys' shower, and like Sanji is the only one that Sanji and Brooke are the only ones that like really react, which makes sense. That's their character. But everyone else is like, oh yeah, you're with us. Like who cares about anything else? You're a guy, and you're talking about us. Like that's all that matters. And then also, okay, wait, tell me I'm going a little bit too far. We in a recent chapter, we see a younger version of a character with purple hair. Where even then, it's not very clear if they're male or female. It's actually a profile picture right now.
That is very, I have noticed that. I did notice that. Like, that is actually really interesting. Oh, we can't really talk about it, can we, actually? Yeah, but I did notice that, because obviously you have to make these decisions when you're portraying someone as younger.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So to have that like portrayed when that character was younger, we can see that was a part of them. Like like they are who they are, and they're not playing this character of, oh, I'm like a transsexual, or I'm like flamboyant. No. They've been like this since they were young, and now they're just older, and they grew into this person now. That's all.
Yeah, I'm also going to bring it back, because I think what you guys said about Mr. 2 Ivankov is so relevant for the whole Yamato thing. But then I'll even bring it back to, if you think about Sanji, and people, like the Sanji one is the most strongest one. We've seen him so like different to a whole cake. No one can understand his issues with women, to a point that if you take what Zeff taught him as a child, you can never hit a woman whatsoever. And then you see that the women in his life are the reason why he kept insanity before he escaped. You understand the whole thing with Sanji is he fights Mr. 2. He goes up to be like Nami, so he can't hit her. He fights Black Maria, Khalifa, deadly woman.
Wow.
Which the lesson is, with Sanji is, the problem with Sanji is not he's a gentleman. The problem is that he assumes someone's personality based on their gender. Like
Exactly.
And that's the problem. Like,
which is why
and people, yeah. And people think like, oh, it's people who hate Sanji. You see, because he's going to become a common, he's going to become a female. Then the other ones are trying to defend. But no, it's not about that. It's about Sanji that learning the importance of a person's a person. A person's not a man. A person's not a female. And going to a comma basically forces you to see that I don't know if they're men or females, but it doesn't matter. It's their actions that matter. And you could see that he's breaking that apart. And it feels like in Wano, he does seem to have a breakthrough, because recently, he looks a bit more sinister. But
yeah, completely. Yeah. I did want to ask. I'll start with Josh and Vex and see what you guys think, and we'll build on it from there. But what was our thoughts about time travel being introduced into the story?
Oh man.
During the
I don't have a problem. I don't really have a problem with it. Even Yeah, it was executed really good.
Cody's
Yeah, it
losing
was
his
done well. Yeah.
mind. I see
Surprisingly.
that. But I mean, my thing is like I love time travel in media when it's done right, and I despise it when it is not done right. And it's a lot to chew, and like it's a big it's a big chunk of like you kind of have to. I don't know. I feel like we definitely have not gotten enough. We're just dipping our toe in the water, and that is what I'm probably looking forward to like the most is figuring out more about Toki's backstory and things like that. And like it's classic Oda, you know, so I can't really be what did I expect, you know? But we did not get anywhere near enough from that, in my opinion, for me to really like it. But I'm here for it because I do trust Oda. But that is huge, like introducing time travel, especially so late into the game. It's absolutely wild to me.
Bit of a dice
Also,
roll, and like I agree. I just trusted him through it.
And also, we don't even know, and it's something that also bothers me, the whole time travel thing, when we go further on it. We don't even know which school he's following right now with time travel because it's still too mysterious.
Mhm.
Now, is he going with the Doctor Who one? Is he going with the Lost one? Back to the Future as well? You know, like, we don't know what style of time travel it is actually. Like, is everything fated to happen the same way? Or is it like Lost where everything's a constant, but there's some variables depending on certain actions that could be changed? You know what I mean? Like, we really don't know.
Cody.
Yeah. Well, I only. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw you
Sorry,
losing your
yeah.
mind. Let me hear you real quick on that.
Yo, like as like time travel is a big quintessential component of two of my favorite series ever, Dragon Ball Z and Katekyo Hitman Reborn. And with Dragon Ball Z and seeing how time travel kind of like made everything a little bit more like, oh, what are we doing here? What's happening now? And then seeing Dragon Ball Super take time travel, and they're like, whoa, we're really dropping the ball here. Versus a series like Katekyo Hitman Reborn, where they're like, we have a way to do time travel. It's only done in this way, and they have the other separate parallel universes. Like Coop said, we don't even know what school of thought Oda is using with this. If like every decision made in the past is going to have a different thing. There's so many different like ways that time travel can break a series. But with One Piece, when it was introduced, I never felt any anxiety because I have that much faith in Oda. After reading week to week for like over 15 years, like there's just something like I trust it so much that I was like, whatever he does with this, I know it's going to be great. And I think like being able to compare like how big Dragon Ball Z is and with how they did their time travel with the alternate universes and everything with what One Piece can do with time travel, I'm just like excited.
I mean, my thing is I can't say that it was never built up because we did have like the Noro or whatever, like the slow fruit that we got in Long Ring Long Land and stuff like that.
Fair.
And like then I don't know, there was like the Momo introduction back in Punk Hazard where it's just like, wait a minute, how is this possible? And like I don't know, we kept getting spoon fed little tiny bits. And there was like a full trail of breadcrumbs that leads back. I can't say it wasn't built up. I am just so skeptical because like that's just me with time travel in media because I've seen it done wrong so many times. I put in the chat like I've only really seen like 2 examples that I think are borderline flawless. But if anyone else can do it, I do believe it's Oda.
Yeah, and there's one thing also I will say because I was just thinking about it. Time travel, like right now, they just go to the future. But if at one point, like let's say the Straw Hat goes to the past, it would explain some of the stuff. And I know Vex he brought me up. It's from a Dak Theory video where Tanjit in Long Ring Long Land sees Luffy for the first day and tells him, "Oh, it's good to see you again," which confused them. And the next day he says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. You must have looked like someone." Like those moments where, if you think about it, the dreams of the Straw Hat seems to be very relevant in today's storyline. Like maybe because they already went to the past, then came back already, and they're doing their own thing. But those ones are just the initial ones having the dream. So it's like full circle kind of thing. Like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Well, personally, like I think I'm just gonna take a different path than both of you guys. I really respect the fact that in One Piece, the specific way that to me he gets around like the butterfly effect or the domino effect, whatever, is that he straight up said like you can only travel forward, you can't go backwards, and I think that caveat alone can already like eliminate a lot of the plot holes that would have to be filled later. So
Yes.
if only going forward was an option, then you can't affect any of the past, right? Like nothing can be affected. You're just
I
showing up
agree.
as if you were never there.
I agree.
But to show up in the past, that means stuff has to change for you to exist.
But at
and
the
for
same
like
time,
the
though,
consequences.
like,
Sorry, go.
yeah, I'm so sorry to cut you off. But
no,
like at the same time, like Oda has set up a story with very few actual boundaries. He has done such a good job of not painting himself into a corner in any way, shape, or form, and everything that kind of bends any boundaries we thought we had, Oda's one step ahead of us and things like that. And so I am
Yeah.
expecting that boundary to be bent. So I
Yeah,
see it as a hard limit right now, but it's not going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll stay a hard limit. Is why I'm anxious. But I absolutely see what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I just hope,
I think the-
I hope that he stays. Like there's not much we got of how time travel works, but the one thing we did get was like you can only go forward. So if that's the only rule that he sets to his time travel, one, that's going to be a very unique form of time travel. Like it's going to be different than the Doctor Who or like the Marvel. It's going to be like its own kind of unique, which is that is what we want. But then also it allows him to make it the way he needs it to work. So like if I don't need to explain all of this other stuff because it's only going forward, right? Like I don't need to explain why Luffy wasn't at this island at this time if he went ahead. No, it's only forward. Right? Like we don't need to
Yeah,
figure
I
out
think
if Luffy
it-
has a
no,
kid or
it's-
anything like that. No.
No spoilers, but shout out to Go D Roger, because like whenever you keep bringing up, oh, we can only go forward in time, my brain lights on fire, and I don't know if Den can see it, but like, ever
obviously
since he
know.
said me
I
that,
obviously
I
know,
was
but-
because there's
but,
this
like,
huge
well,
mega theory that Luffy
No,
will
we
somehow.
can't. Whoa,
Okay,
I've
all
seen this
right.
theory. I think I've seen this theory where like Luffy at the end, like he jumps back in time and like restarts all of it, and he's the Joy Boy or something like
He
that. Like,
throws the gauntlet down.
Yeah.
I would lose it. I would.
yeah, that shit.
like,
that would
I
be
think-
like crazy though. That would be like him going, yeah. I'm never writing another piece of fiction ever again. Like this is the masterpiece to go off of. Like that would be absolutely nuts. But it would also require breaking a bunch of the barriers he had put in place for his own story, which that's what great storytellers
I just
do.
had to shoot. I just had to shout it out because every time they're like, "Oh, we only go forward in time," I'm like, "No,
Well,
there's
I
no
think-
way."
I think this
Yeah.
is
Go on,
like
Den.
where the power, like the strength of One Piece really hits. Like if you're a fan and you're this late in it, is like Vex sort of perfectly and Lucky described like this trope of time travel and how it's kind of broken and like can cause all sorts of issues. And then you got like this Master Oda who like, how would he like if you would have
Yeah.
said to someone he's bringing time travel in Wano at the beginning of Wano, people would laugh at you. But then
Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
does do it, like Vex said about trusting him, it almost makes me excited. Like at first I was like, oh god, but now I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm just thinking that like it's now I just want to see how it fits. Like
Yeah.
I can't mention too
Like
much.
what
about
does
the Fulful
Goda
Fruit, but
think time travel
there's lots
will
of
work
facets
like?
to that.
Like how is his gonna be
Exactly,
different
that's
from the
exactly
others?
what I mean.
Because his is gonna be better. Yeah.
Mhm.
Time travel though, time
Mhm.
travel in any story, just to me, is almost an excuse to fix your mistakes. That's how my gut instinct tells me.
Retcon City.
Yeah.
So-
like as soon as you start introducing a time travel and especially going into the past, that's you saying, bro, I messed up and I'm going back there to fix it.
Yeah.
But what's
So
interesting about One Piece and how they use that like time frame is like this stuff has already happened. Like we're only told about these things so often, and like when we do get to see it, we've already known that these events have happened because like I can't talk about it, but
Yeah.
that's my thing though. Is that
I want to
I
want to know
see-
if you think that like are you saying that like it's possible, there's a possibility that like the Straw Hats all went to the past and like they're the ones that the poneglyphs talk about?
I'm saying it's not possible, and that's
No,
what's crazy.
That's the
Just
issue
to
with One
clarify-
Piece, eh? In the land of
let me just clarify something. Let me just clarify something. What Cody is referring to does not refer to a self-fulfilling prophecy where the Joy Boy that left the messages in the poneglyph is actually Luffy. That is not what Cody's referring to. Cody's referring to.
It's a whole other thing. I'm still reading like 140 parts into this like big mega theory, Den sent me because I was like, "Hey Den, I accidentally downloaded this on my computer." And he's like, "How did you get your hands on this? You read the whole thing?" And I was like, "I think I did." And he's like, "Oh no, bro, you got this to read too." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like,
Welcome to the club. And shout out to Keb if Keb ever does watch this. Shout out.
oh my
to
gosh, Keb! Oh my god, I love you, Keb
for
Sauce.
Joe's report and the people that he's turned with that document.
Drippy with the sauce for real.
So, but actually, Luki, I'm gonna jump in on what you were saying about the time travel stuff, about them going the past. But I would agree with you if One Piece isn't all about causality and consequences. If you think about it, Alabasta, Dressrosa, and think of because I believe Joy Boy is more just Luffy. I think it's the crew itself. Like Joy Boy is on the entire crew. Like the main person is Joy Boy, but he can't do it without the crew. And if you think about it, what would if Joy Boy, the crew that's supposed to be the freest of them all, what is the ultimate thing that a free person can do? Break the one rule that no one can do. Go back at the Genesis. You know what I mean? Go back at the Genesis.
Oh my goodness.
Like Mihawk said at Marineford, to build off what Coob said, Luffy can do what no one else in the world can do. He has the world's most feared power. He could bring the whole world together. Imagine if Luffy was leading the revolution instead of his dad. Imagine just think for a second.
Wow.
Like that's what's scary. That's
the thing is, there wouldn't be a war. It would just be everybody having like a giant potluck.
It would be like a JJK fight, and everyone's jumping in on each other. Like, oh, you're getting jumped.
Time Lords.
Imagine really that if with the Nika fruit, with the other Straw Hats, whatever, or the other people they need, they're able to go to the past. Would that fit on when they say it is the most ridiculous power in the world? The freedom that it attached. You know what I mean? Like, it brings to a whole new level what they say about ridiculous that they're able to do that. But then you think the dude literally has this aspect of freedom that is just out of this world.
Yeah, to speak on what you were saying about time travel earlier as a narrative device, and that what you were saying, I definitely agree with in most cases, except for when it's done correctly, which is what I'm hoping that Oda does. It's not necessarily to go and retcon things. It's like the best examples of time travel, and in my opinion, are like Steins Gate and Doctor Who, and it's from it's literally from the first episode that it is introduced. It's not cleaning up anything. It was literally set up. It's the full backbone and things like that. And so if Oda does go and show us, and with specifically that the Kozuki were referred to as those who like weave fate and things like that. And so if this does have relevance all the way back to literally the very first chapter and things like that, and I can see that the breadcrumb trail goes very far back, then I'm fine with it. But it's only whenever they ham-fist it and they use it like it's I see what you're saying. Is like it can be a Deus Ex Machina, and that can feel like a narrative device, and like I don't like that. But when it's done properly, it is the actual backbone that props the rest of the story up, and that's what I'm hoping we really get.
And
I do want to touch
how One Piece was set up.
feature.
Sorry, it's just that like Wano was set up in that way, where like that backbone of Wano was that time travel, right? Like we got that hint that there was time travel back when we met Momonosuke, and now it concludes at the end of Wano. I kind of hope time travel, unless we get like Vegapunk to kind of go off on it a little bit more. I hope the time travel idea kind of stays secluded into Wano. Unless you're right, unless we can see the breadcrumb trail that you left us. Right now, there's no. Crumb.
I mean,
Toki had said
there
that
is something that's
multiple times.
Something that's really interesting is like a factor of this character, and what Vex was saying about Wano, and like you were saying, hope it stays exclusively to Wano. Well, there is a very strange facet to this character as well, which is her name. Her name is Toki, and as Koob has spent a lot of time talking about
Her fruit.
what does this mean? Like, you know, does this mean that she has got a time ability, or is it a time fruit, or how did she come by this? And this might all be incorporated into like the rules of the time travel and what's allowed and what's not allowed. So it will be interesting to get more context on that, like why she called Toki.
Yeah, but
Like,
I
can't be
specifically
responsible.
don't think that it's secluded to Wano because like it had stated that she had hopped at least a couple times before getting to near present day, whenever she had met up with Karma and like and then like Odin saved her and stuff like that. And we know that she was not on Wano. She was searching for Wano at that point. So that also goes back to the whole continent polar thing you were talking about before. Is that maybe Wano isn't in the same spot or something like that?
And she was jumping from time to time to get to where Wano was.
200 years ago, like I mean, like there's like things like 400 years ago, like with the whole Nolan flashback, and like it, like there could be polka dots of Toki throughout all of the past 870
imagine
years or
rewatching the Nolan story and we just see Toki in the background. Like that would just set me off. That would make me not watch this show anymore. Oh my goodness.
But that's the thing is that it's been he has put in enough of the legwork beforehand to where this doesn't necessarily feel like the lazy type of time travel that we've seen in a lot of media. And so like I said, I do trust Oda, and I'm really hoping that we get a really amazing resolution to this. But there is so many ways that I can see, like with other writers, I could see this going very south.
And look, I might have a pre-time skip breadcrumb. Would you say that if you're knocked out and sent by someone for 3 days, wouldn't you say that each of the Straw Hats in a sense time traveled after Sabaody? Because they were sent by Kuma. Just in the loose definition, it is a sense of time travel for them.
Yep. Yes, you're so right, and I'm glad you brought that up because to me, the Toki no Mi, and then the what is Kuma's, the pawpaw fruit? I forget what that one's called.
Nikyu. No.
Those two actually go hand in hand to me because one is space, one is time. Right, like one is traveling through space, one is traveling through time. So
Which
like,
we're seeing more and more of.
Shock
Like,
me one bit.
Imagine if those two fruits had to work together somehow. That would be crazy.
Oddly enough, this wraps back into what you guys were saying with her name and her name being Toki. So like it's weird that her name is Toki. She has the Toki no Mi and it's time fruit. So like to me that could mean one of like a few things, but the one thing I'm talking about is that she would have been like the first inheritor of that power fruit, whatever. Therefore, that's her name. And like she was friends with the person at the time who was using the Nikyu no Mi, and that's how they were jumping around the world, like through space and time, like jumping together to try to find Wano.
I mean, Niku does sound quite like Nika. Like, you know,
well, you also have to like what I was just saying is that the Kozuki were referred to presumably before Toki's birth, even because she had said it like it's some time tested like the title with reverence to it, is that they are the ones who like weave fate. So her being named Time isn't even crazy because that's kind of like a thing that in their family already, like, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that it's weird that like it's her name and also the ability that she has.
Yeah,
like,
no, I definitely see that is weird.
Coinky dink.
But she did mention that we are, so maybe it's a fruit that's been passed down, and she was like, I guess groomed to be like the next user for it or something. I don't know.
I see the grooming thing personally. Like, I really do see the grooming thing. Like, like as a young girl, she might have been prepped to travel through time as a messenger or retainer of the will of D.
I think this all has to kind of go back to a little bit to what I was saying, where it kind of seems like everybody's at the perfect spot at the right moment. Like that goes back to like Boa to me, where Boa, of course, would be the perfect person to have her fruit because she's the most gorgeous woman, but she was forced like to have that fruit, which is what you guys are saying could have happened with Toki.
And it could also be the will of the fruit, like, like without getting too deep into that, but like we know that, at least one variation of fruits have wills of their own. I believe all of them, though. But
I
yeah,
think,
like if the Nika had
I
been
know.
evading the government for so long, then maybe the Toki Toki no Mi was like straight up looking for, and it could be like even like akin to like Poseidon, how it's like once every however many years this person is born, and you know like
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
And it also like the strongest point I'm gonna say about Toki, because for me, honestly, I think she just wielded the power, and I don't even think the name is that important. What I find is interesting is she didn't use the word "I ate," but I wield the power of the Toki Toki no Mi, which is
See?
I think at that time is because I don't think they acquired devil fruit the same way back at that time. She didn't use the word ate the devil fruit. She said I wield the power. It could be that devil
Yeah.
fruits is like
Well-
Ghost in the Shell. That then likes to bring it up. It might be like the newest version of basically sharing wills in a
So,
sense. Maybe
I've
there was
been-
another way back in the day.
I've been actually cooking on a theory that kind of that kind of touches on that cube actually, without going too deep into it though, is that we've seen in Wano that there is a Tanuki teapot. Shout out to Chestnut, but no, like it's we know that someone in Wano at some point in time has had the ability to put devil fruits into objects. So what if Toki didn't eat the
Yes.
fruit and she just has an object that she wields that has that fruit power? And then that would make sense that if Toki did die, that the Toki Toki no Mi is still somewhat viable within like current day Wano or current day like post Wano and things like that. I don't know. Video coming out soon.
That brings me to a question, just quick, maybe a little bit off topic for that. But here's a question. Let's say I were to have like a cadaver, like just like a body, and then I were to put a devil fruit, a Hito Hito, or some type of Zoan into that cadaver. Would that cadaver then be animated? Like, would it then be like alive?
So that's the question of is a deceased person an object? And in D&D, yes. So
Okay, good.
We've been talking about this pretty much all day as well, Lucky, basically, about like Koob mentioned it, this idea of Ghost in the Shell, and like we see it with swords, we see it with devil fruits and inanimate objects. We are
Could the Germa clones eat a devil fruit? Imagine that.
exactly.
Yeah. Like
Seraphim,
if a sword
Stella.
can, or if like a boat can have a devil fruit, yeah, for sure. I think that. But I think what happens when a cadaver, like a human body cadaver, eats or has a devil fruit put into them? Does the original person's will still affect what's going on, or is it now 100% the fruit's will? Like in
I
stuff,
think
like that's where
I
I
think
think it
that's
gets weird.
explained with
Moria.
Sabo.
Like with Sabo and with Gecko Moria, with the whole shadows, like and depending on the will of the, like I don't know. There's a lot to go into there, and we don't know for sure. But I think, yeah, that's the best.
Also in
example.
Dressrosa, you can hear when Sabo and Jesus Burgess are fighting. You can hear Jesus Burgess be all like, remember what is his line? Man, he's like, our captain fucking took out your brother. He's a bitch, man. And what are you gonna do with that bitch fruit? And Sabo says, I can feel Ace's heat running through my fist. I'm going to enjoy crushing you. And that's when Sabo went crazy and crushed Jesus Burgess's skull to the point where, well, I don't want to talk about it, but Jesus Burgess had to get a whole new thing.
No, Cody, it's more deeper than that. In the official, he actually says the anime says that, but in the official manga, he says Ace here, right here, doesn't want me to let you go. He used the word right here to talk about Ace, like literally. And I would go even further than that. You would take other characters, and the best example I would give is Ors, if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
Did Ors was able to, because Ors had his own identity. Or did he have his own identity because it just gave back? Or is it what Del Carrillo said? If someone remembers your name, and Moria called him by his name, you will not be forgotten. You won't die.
Exactly.
So it could.
There's
so
conventions, like
so it makes
throughout the
them both, I
story,
think.
like we have ice, right? If you freeze someone, you can preserve them to a degree. We've seen this with wait a minute.
Jaguar and Thing and what?
Well, yeah, certain people in O'Hara flashbacks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where a certain move relating to ice was used to preserve a certain will, and like we see this throughout, like Marie Joie and the Straw Hat, stuff like this. So I think with Oda, sort of what Vex mentioned earlier, with the Toki fruit, like anything, like it could be anything at this point. But there are some conventions that we have seen. One of them being forgetting somebody by name. which ties to Impel Down. Level 6, the floor above that is the Winter Hell, which is about freezing, as we saw with Oars. So yeah, I think there are some Edo Tensei possibilities. I mean, Sugar herself turned everyone into toys and stuff, right? And like, it is this whole
toys. They forgot their names and everything.
Honestly, it kind of makes me think of, and something that Gyola said about her fruit, the art fruit. The moment an art is made on you, whatever you are, your prior powers, they become useless. I think, and in the Big Mom, the moment she forgot her name, she still had Prometheus, but he wasn't active, and every move she did in that prison was devil fruitless. It was just her physical strength. Like, she could even activate her own fruit. And we know Momo couldn't. Yeah, just to finish my point, and Momo, who knows his name, couldn't control himself with his devil fruit. So it's not like the fruit goes out of control. I think there needs to be a balance of knowing who you are. Like, whatever devil fruit eats, like if it's a zombie that's dead, it comes back to life because of that. I think you connect to that. But if you were someone before that and that person dies, I think that's why you die with it. You're linked to it in a sense.
Golden Week's power is really weird like that. Like you paint black, right? It creates betrayal. But betrayal can't work on an inanimate object because there's nothing, it has no affiliation or loyalty. So if Golden Week was to paint a dead body with black and say betrayal, the dead body has no enemies or friends to betray, but the will is what it's channeling, the subjective experience. Like, in other words, if you paint Luffy, he'll attack his allies. If you paint Blackbeard, he'll attack his allies and stuff like that. It's all subjective to the individual's character and personality.
Yeah, which I want to add on to this idea of will, because I don't think it's super accurate to say, like, I know they said it in the manga, which is kind of me thinking that like our characters are young and dumb, because Sabo holding up the flame fruit and going, oh, I feel Ace with me. I don't think that was a literal thing. Like, I don't think he literally felt Ace. I think it was more so like the flame fruit represents Ace, and therefore he's embodying that, which is why like Luffy can use fire-based attacks. Like, aside from the Nika stuff, like he kind of figured that out because he took on the will of Ace.
I'd agree with you to the point if it wasn't until after Sabo ate the fruit that like he said, I could feel Ace here with me right now. That,
which,
like,
okay,
that's
so
why
if,
it's so...
Yeah, if that were the case, then how come Luffy would still say that he can use fire because of Ace?
So
that's where I don't.
That's where we get into inherited will, which is
inherited will is a very big thing. Yeah. Like, how can Shanks completely replicate Roger's attack? Or like not Ace, but Shanks. How could Shanks replicate that attack? Like, inherited will is like such a big universal thing in One Piece that I think that as we discuss more of what devil fruits, hockey, will, and how all three of these things intertwine, will we not able to fully understand how like it all coincides with each other. I do think that like inherited wills of fruits are a big thing because of Luffy's fruit reveal and how zone fruits all have a will of their own. Like, each zone fruit, it makes me think about each zone fruit user we've had in the series now. Why does Kaku like giraffes so much? Why does Lucci want to be a cheetah? Why does Dalton want to be a cow? Like, why not be a goat? Like, there's so much that
thing, like, as far as the inherited will thing as well, I think that goes hand in hand with hockey, like you were saying, and is a bit tied in, like the observation hockey side of it, because we didn't see Luffy throwing fire or anything like that until after, I believe, Marineford, right? Whenever he first exhibited.
The first one was Hody Jones.
Yeah, so when he first exhibited observation hockey against Mihawk at Marineford, that's like him getting, and then he trained with Rayleigh specifically to get his observation.
Wait, sorry,
hockey.
Can you just say that again? I just want to be clear. You said that when he used observation hockey when fighting Mihawk?
Like, Mihawk was about to cut him, and then Luffy was gonna go in. Luffy saw himself getting cut, and Luffy chose not to go in, and Mihawk noted, "Oh, so you saw that."
Before that,
wait, I just have a quick question about that. Do you think it's because Luffy used observation hockey to see that?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, I personally, on my personal ones, I don't believe that. I think that's Mihawk's.
Yeah, me too.
You think
is able
Mihawk
to
was
show
projecting?
people the future.
Oh wow, that's an
Yes.
interesting take. I
Which-
like that a lot, actually.
which is very much
Which is
in
also
line
why
with-
he was
with-
super
with
shocked
Shanks
when he
and
showed
his crew.
Zoro the future of him getting cut, and Zoro still stayed like this. And then when Luffy did it, Luffy pulled away. So I think that's Mihawk's kind of gimmick, is he's able to show you the future you're about to go into.
I don't have the panel in front
I
of me,
think
but
this
I feel
is
like something that was
Shanks'
said
crew,
in
no?
the anime makes me believe that it was
Also,
Luffy's
like-
ability
Fair.
more.
Fair. I don't really
Before-
remember all of it, but yes.
Before Marineford, even Luffy was showing out hockey at Sabaody when he went to go fight Duval, and Duval had that giant sea cow monster coming towards him, and Luffy used Conqueror's hockey to just
Yeah.
tame it immediately at the beginning of Sabaody. So like this whole inherited will thing, like as Luffy's will gets stronger going throughout the series, he's able to exert more of his will throughout it, and I think that like the more I just want to know what it is. Give it.
Yeah. So for me, I always felt like it was Luffy's observation hockey, but after what I saw with Shanks, and I recently remembered, and I went to check it again, and Sabaody really finds out what happened after he knocked out everyone, and he just looks around, and he seems like he just telepathically knows. And I like to give a reminder, because Oda always gives that in those SBS questions, where he talks about Mihawk, says, yes, I at first had another nickname for him. You know, his name is Hawkeye, but he was supposed to be called the Clairvoyant, where if you go back in the origin of Clairvoyant, it is someone who either sees visions or shows visions to people, like a seer. So that's why I am more on the side of Luffy on that thing, that maybe it's possibly, it's either Luffy or Mihawk. It's obviously one of the two, but I'm more on the Mihawk side.
Yeah, my gut just wants to tell me that like Mihawk has to be ridiculously strong if he's going to be labeled the world's greatest swordsman. In the recent manga, I'm not going to say anything, we have seen some few swordsmen, and those guys look crazy. So if Mihawk is above those guys, Mihawk has to be an absolute like calamity of his own. So something that a calamity would have is a broken power, like showing you a future. Like that would be crazy to have.
Yeah, I think that's still kind of
But Luffy having it would be
into
great.
Inherited will, is if he had such a will that was strong enough, like a conqueror's presence, that he could like show other people like non-violently, but like, you know, like it could be similar to what Shanks did to Green Bull, because we didn't really get to see the introspective side of Green Bull and what he saw. All he knows is that red hair pirates are here. He could have shown like a potential future to Green Bull, and that's why Green Bull just dipped. So yeah, it could be something like that. I like that.
Which is also
What
when
if
Luffy
like that's
said-
why Zoro took his own eye, is like Mihawk showed him a future that like Zoro didn't accept, and so like in like retaliation of that, Zoro took that eye and
goes
said
so
that's
hard.
never going to happen.
That goes so
like-
hard.
No.
Like
Yeah.
Mihawk was like, look, if you strike me, if you try to strike me right now, you're gonna lose your eye. And Zoro cuts his own eye out. He's like, look at that, I did it myself. Like I took fate into my own hands or something. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that would be crazy. That would be so cool. Yeah. There's just something in me that tells me that like the endgame villains that we've seen at the beginning, like for example, Mihawk, even Buggy, I want to put him up there. Like Buggy, I think he's like kind of he's talking shit. He is way stronger than we all believe him to be, and even himself to be. Like he has kind of the other side of Luffy's coin, where like I know people say like, oh, Luffy like he climbs up, whereas like Buggy fails upwards. But not only that, like Luffy has this crazy ability to just make people around him his friends, whereas Buggy has a very similar one where everybody around him wants to become his disciple, like wants to be under him, not next to him. So I think that those two are another one of the yin and yang that we see.
To feed what you're saying, like I think that like with Buggy, his real foil is Shanks. In that Shanks is just this Giga Chad who literally everybody except for Higuma in the entire story that's ever met him had Goo Goo eyes, even the dudes and stuff like that. And everyone is just, this dude is just completely risen it up all throughout the East Blue and the Grand Line and everything. Everywhere we've seen him, he is just an absolute force of like positive attraction mentally. And then you see Buggy, who does it, and it's like no matter what Shanks does, he seems to succeed even when he fails or something like that. And then Buggy's the flip side of that, where he fails upwards instead of just succeeding.
And also
and then
to
Luffy,
add on to that,
Luffy is like the halfway point, I would say, because we see Luffy take
like-
plenty of L's. We've seen Luffy like win, or he loses, then he comes back and draws, and then he comes back and wins. But Luffy does fail. as well. That's
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
So like, there's this theory that like maybe like at one point Mihawk would have served on Shanks's crew as like a swordsman to Shanks, and maybe like because like in the same way that Buggy had his dreams betrayed at Shanks not wanting to rise to the heights that he thought Shanks was capable of. It would be really cool to see like Mihawk and Buggy have that same almost like the betrayal of who the character is of Shanks, like the person that Shanks was built up to be in their mind. Like when Mihawk said, "I didn't expect you to give up an arm in the East Blue," or "I won't fight someone who's like you." In the same way, when Buggy back in that flashback was like, "I thought you were better than this, Shanks. I thought you would rise up. I'm not going to be on your crew if you're not going for the One Piece." And so it would be really cool, like with Cross Guild forming, to see that same revelation of dreams. Like, you thought Shanks would be higher, I thought Shanks would be higher. Let's both rise together and show him that like we don't even need you to do. I really think that's cool. Also, shout out to my man, the Chad roll in the chat, Strawhead Lucas. Woo!
Absolutely. Also, shout out to the GOAT Terrible TJ with the $5 super chat, which I'll read really quickly. He said, "We all know those humandrels who took Zoro's eye, and then he took one of theirs. That's how he can copy attacks like Flame Rend." Also, like D-Stream. Yes, thank you. Like D-Stream, everybody.
WTJ, W Lucas.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coob. Sorry.
Oh, so yeah, go ahead.
No. I'm trying to rethink because of Cody's old song right now. I kind of lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. What we were talking just before the whole
Shanks and
Super
Mihawk
chat?
and like Shanks and Mihawk.
Yeah. And if you think about it, there's something very interesting when Mihawk mentions the moment he stopped fighting with Shanks is when he lost his arm, which coincided at the same time he gives a straw hat, and Mihawk tells him, "When I saw this kid, remind me of a story, the strange boy with a strange hat from a strange island," which he mentions the hat. And if you think of the time that Buggy used to inspire with Shanks, it's the hat. And weirdly enough, he accepts the right-hand man, the swordsman, or that guy that has the hat. So I do feel like this storyline will return. Like the stuff that Shanks was supposed, like let's say Shanks was supposed to be a Joy Boy candidate, but he actually gave it up. You know, like here he gave up. He gave up immediately for a sure thing. Because I've said this, we've seen Sabo and Ace very similar in character. Even Whitebeard says both Ace and Luffy are the same. They just run straight forward. And then you think about it, Buggy, fake it till you make it, but he is someone who always finds a way to get his way. And we talk about Shanks, you know, being the Giga Chad, all of that, but it could be that there's one thing about Buggy and Shanks that have in common is they always have a final way to get their way. You know what I mean? Like maybe Buggy is more deliberate, but Shanks is more like charismatic on the way he gets his way stuff. You know, like how he's able to walk into a war and want a body. You stop the war now. Goes to the Gorosei and not even demand an audience like Cobra. Show up to the room, and even they're saying just because it's you. You know, so I kind of feel like they have that in common. They get their way. Basically.
Yeah, no, and what I would say is that like it would be pretty cool to see maybe at some point like I want to see the story end in a way where like I don't want to rewatch it, or like it actually ends in a good way where like the stories are closed. So like to have Buggy and Shanks maybe close out that story in a positive way, where as we were saying like Luffy and Buggy are probably going to move a little bit quicker now than Shanks. Shanks kind of feels like a part of the old generation, and our new generation is going to move ahead of them. But like almost in a way where Luffy and Buggy are not going to allow Shanks to like lose like the old generation. Like they're going to be like, no, you have to come with us. Right? Like Buggy's going to remember Shanks as a good friend as childhood, and then Luffy's going to remember Shanks as the person to set off his journey. So they're both going to want to carry Shanks upwards instead of defeating him. I hope it ends in some way where it's positive. All right, like take out the bad guys. I don't know if Shanks is a bad guy. He could be. If he is, then whoop his ass.
don't know if Shanks is necessarily a bad guy, but like I do see him almost maybe trying to be a Kaido-esque gatekeeper type character, where like he doesn't see himself being able to rise to that occasion and like betraying everyone, and maybe he could rise to the occasion if he did put forth the effort. But like you said, timing is everything. And with like when Roger came back from Laugh Tale and Shanks was crying, I think that was like the realization of like I couldn't do it even if I put everything I wanted into it. So I don't know. It would kind of make it almost like self-fulfilling prophecy if it's all just timing. But it's also like I'm really interested to see what Shanks as a character is going to be fleshed out, because he's been there since chapter 1, 27 years later, and it's finally it's happening.
Yeah,
I think-
finally.
And
I think he
barely-
really.
If you think about it,
Go ahead.
oh,
Keith.
sorry, go back. I'll go after you.
Okay, yeah, like I think he really did do a good job of showing us his true colors within the first like events on Romance Dawn, like going up against Higuma, him and his crew. Like, we're not going to play by the rules of traditional combat. We're not gonna, like do what you expect. We're pirates, and so whatever's going on with him showing up at Marie Joie, I'm sure it serves his agenda more than anybody else's. And so I've heard a lot of the Shanks as a rat theories and stuff like that, and people who don't trust
I love
him.
those.
It's interesting, but again, I trust Oda, and I think that he was built up to be something different from what you can expect right from the get-go.
Yeah. And I have a little side note to want to add on to this is like I feel like because we're going into like a goofier / serious part of One Piece, like something as simple as the what are they called, the Davy Beck fights, Davy Jones
Absolutely.
fights.
Davy Beck.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
something like that where Shanks is gonna be like, no, like we're pirates, we fight, and then Luffy's gonna be like, nope, I challenge you to a Davy Beck fight, where it's like you can't say no, and when I win, you're on my crew now, right? Like stuff like that to take advantage of the goofy plot or the goofy tools that he's laid around in this story. He should use them to kind of get across the very seriousness of these other characters' stories and their goals, right? Like imagine if in the middle of a Davy Beck fight, we get a whole flashback of why Shanks is doing what he's doing now, or we get the flashback as to Shanks actually had it planned all along, where he was gonna go to this village and find a kid. It was actually meant to go to Ace, but somehow it went to this random Luffy kid, and haha, now. Oh shucks, I lost the devil fruit, but he's just been cultivating this kid. That it would be cool if in these goofier story elements we got very serious like reveals.
I was gonna say, well, I like that. First of all, I just need more because I still don't believe Luffy, the freest person in the world, would make a crew out of a Davy Back fight, which is the least freedom thing.
Sure.
But the other thing is, whatever's gonna happen to Shanks, I think it's this year in the world of One Piece. Because if you think about it, Shanks is 39. When Nolan was 39, Jai was sent. Half of this Jai was sent to the sky. He was executed. When Roger was 39, God Valley, and when Kaido was 39, he takes over Wano from Odin. Like the year 39 is very relevant. So Shanks being 39 years old and Buggy this year is their like crucible in a sense, their crusade in a sense, their big moment.
Their turn to take advantage now. Yeah.
Yeah, either you pass or you die, kind of situation.
Yeah. Wow. So wait, here's a quick question then. But this is kind of out of the blue, but do you guys see another time skip coming in One Piece?
Yes.
Okay, I do too. but
Yeah,
wanna
I
hear
think
everybody.
too, and I've talked a lot about this on Ragnar's Discord. Go to the channel, like an absolute goat and a friend of the channel. But specifically, I think we need a time skip that would, like, I think probably one. I would hope for two, but before we get to like end of story, there's just so many things that need to happen, and I don't see any of it happening overnight.
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me though is like the rest of our crew kind of have to beef up. Like everybody has to get a little bit stronger. Our Monster 3, even Jinbei in there, even Brook I'll put in there. You guys are all good, but the rest of you guys are gonna need some help.
I'm in the other side
Oh.
of things. I think that the rest of the world needs to catch up. Like, to
Oh
a
my god,
degree.
everyone else needs to catch up to
Like,
Luffy.
when you
and
look
them.
at a lot of the other pirate crews that were threats and menaces before, we are so close to the
Yeah.
point where I'm very confident in the Straw Hats against pretty much any of these crews. I think that it's the rest of the world that needs a time skip. I would like to see another Straw Hat time skip, but I don't think they need it. That's what I
So-
think.
Okay.
For me, I think there's going to be a time skip, but it's very important. Since the first time skip was all about physical, I think it's all about information. And if you think about it, the members of the crew that needs to beef up aren't those who are known for their physical prowess, but more of their tech and how they're able to use it to heighten, like Nami, Usopp. And pre-time skip, they were supposed to meet in 3 days, but they met in 2 years. I think whatever they're gonna have with a time skip in the world, 3 days will have passed. So for
Oh,
3 days,
they're gonna
we're
do
gonna
the
get an
actual
information dump. Information dump, and among them, I think people like Frankie, Usopp, and Nami will just upgrade. Basically, their tech
wow.
will follow their wills in a sense, you know.
I mean,
Understandable, yeah.
the main thing that I think I use is that, like, and without talking too much about, you know, recent chapter events or anything like that, Kobe needs to be more proficient in what he's, you know, capable of. Like, we know he's capable at this point, but he needs to be able to continuously, you know, hit on that level before he's like gonna actually be like the true like future of the Marines, like we know that Garp has been building up to be for like 600 chapters, you know, or episodes, you know.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me is like there's so many other folks in the rest of the story that have been built up to be like these other things, and I think that there needs to be more time that pass. It's not everybody is gonna develop like the Straw Hats did. Some people need more time, you know. And even Kobe is a ridiculously fast developer and things like that. But they're
Dude, it's
not
the
the
craziest.
rest of the world. So we just need more time to pass.
Yeah, well, even arguably, you have three people, all worth 3 billion berries, and they're not as strong as Luffy, not even close. So, Kid and Law can't keep up with Luffy, but they're worth the same. Nah, bullshit. What about you, Cody? Sorry, do you think a time skip is coming?
No, I don't. As someone who's went through the time skip, not again. Not again.
Well,
Weird.
what's the problem with a time skip? I like them. I think it's a way for the
I like-
characters to change.
I like the time skip, but I don't want to go through another fan divisive thing where everyone's like, OMG, now we have to deal with pre-time skip design, post-time skip design, post-time skip design. Like, knock it off, Oda. We've had enough. The 2-year one was good enough. As we are at near the pinnacle of the power of the world, Vex says the rest of the world needs to catch up. I
There is
think
no
it's
time.
more of there is time, but I also think that there's also like the tragedy in like Luffy can't reach the whole world at once, and so like Luffy can't be everywhere at once to defeat the world government to protect everyone. Yes, he has the power, but does he have like the know-how to like keep all the places he wants to keep safe? I think like it's gonna be like a tragedy written like that.
I think my
Oh.
biggest linchpin in the whole 2 time skips thing is still to come, and it won't be like we might get like just like one as an epilogue thing or something like that. And I think I'd be okay with that because there's just so much more information that needs to be had. But Oda went out of his way to draw so many different things in SBSs that people had asked for, and nobody asked for 2 different older versions of every single Straw Hat, but we still got that.
Yeah.
We got the 20 years down the line, or like them at 40 and them at 60 and stuff like that. So I'm more inclined to think that that won't be wasted because he has been including a lot more of the details from those little throwback SBS things.
And
Even like
specifically, he says like good timeline versus bad timeline,
Yes.
which is very weird to say, and it actually changes the way the characters look. Like, okay.
no, yeah, exactly. I think there's extreme significance to that specific SBS, and a few others that include like the younger Shichibukai and like the younger Yonko and things like that. Like I don't think we got all of the younger Yonko, but we've seen flashbacks from them now. But
Yeah.
we've got a lot of those, and I think that Oda is not going to waste any of that.
Yeah, and
That's
I
just my
also still
opinion.
feel like in regards to our other like members, like our other pirate crews, like our straw hats are just young. Like they're like just straight up like age wise, they're only like 20 to like 30, whereas everyone else is like mid 30s to like mid 50s.
I mean,
Gotta give some respect to Jinbei.
Yeah.
Jinbei is 46, so give some
Jinbei
respect to our
is in his
Jinbei.
prime.
Brooks like 90. I mean, but yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely see what you're saying, and it's so interesting to see that. Like, I want to know, like, at Roger's execution, maybe, because I do One Piece D&D, and it's based 24 years back in the past, and so specifically, I had to look at how old a lot of these, figures that are prominent in today's day and age in current One Piece, how old were they at Roger's execution? And looking at Doflamingo as a 17-year-old who was at Roger's execution, looking at Mihawk was 19, Shanks was 14, and these were still big names on the sea. Like, that's it's crazy to think about like how powerful some of the younger figures could be. But like, I don't know, like Mihawk was 19 at Roger's execution. How strong do you think he was? How close do you think he was to claiming that title of the world's strongest swordsman 24 years
He
ago?
was the world's greatest swordsman at that point, in my opinion.
I can believe it, but we don't have a confirmation. But I could believe it is because 19-year-old, like, it's really
Yes.
young, but it's doable. We've seen Luffy literally climb to such heights firsthand right in
Yeah.
front of us.
And I think Mihawk, I see, I'm not like a Mihawk dick rider. I just think Mihawk is actually supposed to be this weird character where everybody's like, you're the only other person who can keep up with Shanks, so you got to be strong. So like, let's not downplay that. From 19, like Shanks was on Roger's crew at whatever, like 12 years old.
Yeah, so
But like 19 years old, he most definitely, maybe not the world's greatest swordsman. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but he could have been if he just fought everybody,
Yeah.
right? Like you have these weird characters now, like what's in it, Figureland or some crazy stuff like that, right? I don't know if at the time Mihawk would have been able to take them out, but I think he may have been such a threat at a young age that he was respected as such. Like he was respected as the world's greatest swordsman. If not now, very, very shortly he will be. Right? He was kind of like a prodigy kid when it came to it.
yeah, I think Tori Mori in the chat. Shout out to Tori Mori, one of my lovely players in One Piece D&D Group 2 solos. But he put it best is that I don't know if he was world's greatest swordsman at Roger's execution, but I think that he is definitely closer at 19 than Zoro was at 19.
Yes.
Way
yes, that
closer,
is
yeah.
like way, yeah, 100%.
Did Mihawk have Yoru at Gold Roger's execution?
I don't know if we saw
I
it.
would assume if Mihawk had Yoru, then I'm putting money down that he was already the best swordsman. in the
I'm
world.
pretty sure he did have Yoru, because I also want to say that I think that the people that were at Roger's execution that were not captured yet, it's for a reason. It's because like it was too dangerous to go ahead and capture these other giant pirates, because you had Gecko Moria, you had Mihawk, you had Shanks, you had all of the Crocodile was there, Dragon was there, you had all of these people there at the King of the Pirates execution. But to start something, like to try to go after some of these pirates, would just cause like crazy mayhem, like a war at Logtown, which is like probably like another universe. Like in the other universe, they got a war at Logtown. Us, we got Roger's execution.
So my
Tori
thought
Mori
on that is
confirmed that in
also
chat.
I also really liked this about specifically the live action. And I don't know, have you watched the live action?
I'm not done.
Okay,
I'm
but
not
you've
done.
seen like the
I'm on
first
like the second
episode.
last episode.
Yeah, okay, so in the first episode when they include they include Garp at Roger's execution. I think that is an amazing inclusion. I think it was something that Oda probably wanted to do, but the build up was way different. We didn't get it for 300 something episodes until post Water 7 or post Andy's Lobby Water 7 and stuff like that. I think that Garp absolutely would have been there though, and that would have been a thing, is that Garp was keeping the peace, like making sure that none of these crazy pirates, went off while this all happened. But there is absolutely an argument that Garp would have been there because the East is his turf. Roger was his guy, as far as a rival and as far as a brother. We saw like later on, and so I think that Garp was absolutely at the execution.
Well, and even so, what's kind of funny is like in that flashback, we saw Roger straight up say like, "Yo, don't send these guys. Send Garp." Like send Garp. You want to have a problem with me? Send Garp. So it's almost like he knew, like, nobody can take me out. Even Garp can't take me out. Like, we're not going to do that. But when my time comes, Garp, you're going to be the first person. You're going to get the glory of capturing the Pirate King as my friend. Right? I understand what you're saying.
So I have an answer. We do not see the sword completely, but from the sides, it looks like it's the Yoru. It's the same golden thing as the Yoru on the side with the jewels.
Yeah, in the
So
anime,
it seems
it's
that
up Euro.
yeah, he looks like he already had the Yoru 24 years ago.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I just rewatched through Chapter 0 because they put it on like YouTube, like the One Piece official YouTube channel. Had just put I think they're adding Strong World like for free as well, but they just put on Chapter 0, and I rewatched it very recently. I'm pretty sure it is in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so especially because like Yoru is a black blade, blah blah blah. Like these are things that we as like viewers right now still don't fully understand. This guy had it at 19 years old, so he's either like a pre-seraphim, like he's just like a genetically like engineered swordsman, or he's like a prodigy swordsman, or his like the sword is a Hito no Mi, and it just like it manifests a human form. Like Mihawk isn't a character; it's actually just the sword.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely interested in that. That's like that's a Parvision theory, right? Like that. I remember I heard it from him first.
I tell you, I hear so many of them.
Yeah.
I need to stop. Like it's so bad. I need to stop.
Well, I mean, of
'Cause I
all
can't
of
even watch the show.
the interesting like theories that he pumped out like about a half a year ago and whatnot, I was like, I think that was the one that stuck out to me the most. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. But wait,
Yeah,
sorry
no,
guys, like
sure.
this is gonna be it for me. I do have to start heading out soon. So yeah, I really wanted to say I really appreciate you guys. I hope we could do it again because I love having these little conversations.
Yeah, no, it's been great having you. Thank you so much for coming on. If there's anything that you wanted to go ahead and plug, say it to the chat and
Yeah.
everything like that, the floor is yours, man.
For sure, yeah. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for the last arc for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you guys in the chat and sticking around this long. You guys can find me at In Between the Lines of Anime on YouTube or In Between Anime on pretty much any platform: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. Where I am now going to be talking about theories and little kind of connections, making connections, maybe information videos based all around One Piece, and kind of sticking a lot more towards the anime now. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and link in the title and in the description. You can just do a little quick one-click. Make sure you go subscribe to our lovely
Yeah.
guest. Thank you so much for giving us your time
No
for the
problem.
wonderful discussion. It has been
Yes.
great,
Yo,
and we look forward to
Rookie.
definitely doing this again soon.
I am so excited that you're going to be anime only because I've been waiting to say this all stream, but my mom and you will be at the same pace at One Piece now because my mom is an anime
Let's go.
only.
Yes,
It's like,
bro. Tell your mom to watch my channel. Oh, and also
she's
just want to let you
current,
guys
yeah.
know. For the celebration of the Gear 5 and Joy Boy being announced and now it fully coming to the manga, I went ahead and got a new tattoo, which I've showed a little bit before, but it is... Oh, wait, is
Let's go.
Let's go.
I see that. I see that Leaf Village. I see it. Represent.
So yes, boys.
I see the Hunter x Hunter tattoo. That's fire. The Hunter x Hunter one is fire.
Yes, I have a bunch. I have a Super Smash Bros. Tattoo right here. There's another one. Here's another one.
Oh,
I got a
man.
bunch.
Yeah, Cody.
Yeah, I was
Cody
gonna
has
do whole
a
sleeve as the
Anime
logos
guy.
too.
Cody has a tramp stamp of Hisoka's name.
Oh my goodness.
But yes, guys, I really appreciate you
You
guys.
know-
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Yeah, have a great rest of your
Bye.
day,
Yeah,
man.
man.
See you.
My internet is actually like wanting me to definitely shut it down soon. So if you guys wanted, we can go to rap now. Cody, if you wanted,
No problem.
Cody, if you want to go ahead and spit for a bit, plug everything you got, tell everyone about the wonderful stream we had the other day and where they can catch the next one.
Yeah, I'm a little thrown back by that comment. It's just like, Hi, I'm SSJ Cody. You can find me on Chadmirals on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where me and Lucas will be spinning our takes about adult animation and why it's not taken seriously in the West. It'll be a really spicy topic because we're going to be also discussing the new South Park special, the Pandering Verse. So be sure to tune into that because it's wild. But you can also find me on TikTok at SSJ Cody, where I have even more spicier takes about a bunch of different things that I'm reading, like Jujutsu Kaisen, Zom 100, Dragon Ball Super. So you can find me on there, and then you can also find me streaming on Twitch, where I'm just grinding out different video games for achievements, because I'm that guy. You will also see the return of group TikTok on Sundays next week, hopefully, but that will be announced very soon too. So I'm gonna hand it over to my man Josh, and he should plug what he wants to plug because I love hearing his voice.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to talk anything other than One Piece, like Record of Ragnarok or Jutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man, come to my server.
Yeah, go to Josh's server if you love Gojo, and let's go love for the return of our king. Let's go huff copium together in Josh's server.
Yeah. Also, tomorrow we should have the return of Group 6.
Oh yeah.
The D&D Marines.
Yeah, I'll throw Human's channel in the chat very shortly, and you can also find the link to Josh's Discord if you join the TLA Discord in the TLA socials, and all of Cody's links as well. And then I've been Vexus the Lurking Legend. I do D&D every Tuesday. We're doing an SBS this Halloween at a little bit earlier time, 5 p.m. EST, if you guys want to catch us there. Got some videos that I'm be uploading to the TLA TikTok very shortly as well. And always a pleasure, being on stream with you guys and vibing. It's been a whole lot of fun. Cube, is there anything you wanted to say as well?
No, listen, I want to thank everyone who was there on stream. For Cody, Joshua, Den Vex, who was here, and Dill for your energy for the stream. Honestly, it was a great discussion, and yeah, that you could find us on the Discord on TLA, and I appreciate you all.
All right. Well, it has been real. Thank you everybody in the chat for joining us. Make sure you do D-Stream. You are all wonderful people. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We've been TLA Live, the last arc. Hop in the Discord and